Another best of 3 here for the EPS. It feels like time is flying by, but that's okay because we're not done yet. We still got another series to cast after this, another best of 3. So don't worry, guys. We still got more StarCraft 2 for you. I'm Refkin. You're watching this on Base Trade TV, and I hope you're enjoying it so far. Because spawning here in the top left corner of the map, in another PvP today. Well, actually, it's his first PvP today. The blue player from Mouse Sports, HasuObs. And his opponent in the low right, playing for show. No, I screwed that up. I was going to say playing for ShoWTimE. The red Protoss. But okay, I'm losing my marbles here, guys. It is, of course, the red player from ESC. Of course, ESCEU. It is ShoWTimE. And worth noting, this actually scouting for proxies in base initially here. Kind of an interesting move. I don't know. I've kind of always known HasuObs to be more of a, how do I say, a stand-up, non-cheesy guy, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that sarcastically. So opening with a proxy is not something I really see in his forte. Of course, he agrees with this, that he's opening quite regularly quite over here. But ShoWTimE did some pretty cheeky things in that first series of the day. If you guys missed it, ShoWTimE did some pretty cool things between a gas steal, between just being elusive with the hallucinations. I'm very excited to see how this one goes. It takes I mean, there's good Protoss players out there, right, who have great control over their units. They can micro, they can blink, they can do all these lovely things, but I really find it rare that someone can really truly utilize hallucinations to their fullest extent, and Max said is one, and ShoWTimE appears to be another. I mean, either way, I'm really just excited for this match. I mean, typically PvP, a lot of people come into these sort of matches just groaning and moaning like, oh boy, another Protoss versus Protoss, here we go. And I get that some of you guys might hate matchups, and there are obviously your least favorites and all that, but I gotta tell you, even considering all the variations of any matchup in StarCraft 2, PvP is probably within my top 4. TVP, number 1, hands down, but the reason I really like PvP is it can be incredibly methodical. It's not too different from TVT in that sense where you have to be very careful with your units. You can't afford to throw away tanks, for example, so you can't, in this matchup, afford to throw away a Zealot. You can't afford to throw away your Mothership Core. You can't afford to lose anything early on. But what really makes PvP so difficult for a lot of players is there's no area of effect damage in the game early on to sort of, I guess, make up for mistakes. Like, let's say ZVZ, for example, right? You got Zerglings and Banelings. You make some mistakes with some Zerglings. Suddenly your opponent's got 10 times more Zerglings with you. Or then you, bam, one good Baneling hit can change everything. Same with Terran to an extent, whether it's Hellions or whether it's the Siege tanks. But in Protoss versus Protoss, you don't get till Archons, don't get till Colossus. You don't get there until the late game. And you never even really see Storm's PvP, but
First blood.
That's what I was waiting on. Hang on, let's make sure that reset.
First blood.
Okay, I did it twice then. Whatever. I thought it hadn't reset properly. My point is, though, that this matchup can be very tricky, and it takes the small things like those hallucinations, like the good use of the Mothership Cores, etc. HasuObs looking to do the classic move I described earlier today, where you get in here, pick off a probe or two, and then recall out. But the Stalker already in position is going to prevent this from even happening, and HasuObs is not going to try and go for it. Not after he sees the additional Stalker coming in, I don't think. No, backs off immediately. So going to play it safe in that regards. Lots of gas coming in for him, but what tech path is he going to choose? That extra gateway coming down is not too indicative. Having 2 gateways is kind of the standard. You need to have a couple gateways down or you're just kind of straight up screwed. I guess that's the difference too. Like, if you can lose a game technically by not having a Stalker on the field, either from losing the Stalker outright or from not making it in the first place, one way or another. ShoWTime's actually going to go for the Nexus. Alright, so it's HasuObs, so they're both expanding off this. This, of course, means we're probably going to get that really nice mid-game out of this, which probably not going to be a lot of aggression. HasuObs is someone I've actually seen Nexus snipe naturals before with Stalkers, but in that sort of situation, I don't think it's going to happen in Game 1. Maybe if this was like Game 2. I'm kind of predicting that HasuObs goes for that a little bit safer play. I imagine we'll probably see Colossus come out for these guys into the late game, and yep, the Rebels are finishing up here in just a sec for both guys. Forges are out, but of course Forges are not really important in this matchup nearly as much as other matchups. The upgrades are going to be good if you can get them, if you can afford to squeeze them in, but the reality is having an extra like 2-3 Stalkers is way better than having level 2 upgrades over level 1 upgrades type thing. So of course Unit's going to take the priority in that regard. I don't think we're going to see them speed out to Colossus, by the way. I'm very excited about having Colossus on the field, but For the most part right now, it's just like get the Immortals, be ready to defend, get some sentries if necessary. Hallucinated Phoenix, gonna get up here and see what's going on. Alright, well, what's going on? It's gonna be not a lot. This is gonna be... Do you guys remember Brood War? You guys ever play like the no rush 20-minute maps and you just both max out and then they both just kind of... You just 8-move your army into your opponent's army on that one little bridge in the middle of the map? Like, that's kind of what this is feeling like right now. No rush 12 minutes, bro. Little surprising we don't see Blink out of anyone though. I mean, going for quicker Immortals makes sense. I kind of feel like Blink can be really strong if you can... Well, I guess actually no, I take that back. Not having Blink so far this game makes sense to me. A big part of this is, of course, because the Nexus is already down. When you go for a Blink build, typically it's to either end the game with an all-in or try and at least contain your opponent so they can't move out of the ramp, so they can't take their Nexus, so that you can get your expansion up before this. But because both of these players took very early Nexuses, Nexi, Nexin, the bases in which to mine from, then they're actually okay in that regard. So not having Blink makes a little more sense for now, but I think we'll see Blink come out for the late game if it's going to stick to this gateway tech. Weapon upgrades finishing up here for ShoWTimE, or sorry, HasuObs. ShoWTimE's just getting his underway. There's that Twilight Council, so we'll probably see Blink out of HasuObs somewhat relatively soon. But ShoWTimE, rather than going for Blink, instead getting at the Robo Bay a bit quicker, which means Colossus will be out sooner, but I don't know if that'll be soon enough. A Colossus is good at shutting down, say, Zealots, or a lot of Sentries, or lots of really weak units, but Stalkers, once they have Blink, are not really weak units. And here we go with the Fruit Ninja, guys. Slash cuts the army up here quite nicely. 2 Stalkers there for free. And HasuObs going to continue with the push. Alright. Gonna need to back out of this perhaps a little bit. Taking on the Immortal count, not in the favor here of HasuObs, as he actually tears one down now, about even 1-to-1, but of course that overcharge on that Nexus is a lot to contend with. Another Sentry is sniped off, and HasuObs actually, it's a little bit silent during that, because I kind of figured he'd just back away right away, but gets in there, does some decisive damage, goes from being so far behind in the resources lost to actually closing that gap a bit. Really important that he didn't lose this Immortal, by the way. If he lost that Immortal, that could have been a counter push that ends the game coming from ShoWTimE, but instead backs up to the Watchtower. It's going to regen the shields on that, and of course Hardened Shield is going to come into great effect as we continue fights up here towards the mid game. But Colossus is on the field for ShoWTimE at this point. Big question is how long it takes for this to get revealed. If a Hallucinated Phoenix comes by and sees it, that's going to kind of kick HasuObs' butt into overtime as he tries to get his own out. I mean, the Robo Bay is coming down, but he's been doing a bit of a more casual pace. Hasn't needed to rush them, hasn't had to really over-invest in anything just yet. Slim Spady says, the more stuff that dies, the redder the screen needs to get until blood starts dripping from the window. Until eventually you gotta put like towels under your monitor and you can't contain the blood anymore. Suddenly the police come knocking at your door, they think you've been murdering somebody, you tell them that no, it's just from your game, but they don't believe you, and video games are violence, which leads to the Senate passing a bill banning video games, which means StarCraft 2 can no longer be an esport because it's not available in North America, and this all stems from one silly idea in Twitch. Scene. I'm sorry. Anyways, coming down here through the middle of the map, charging forward is ShoWTimE. He can recall if he gets stuck in a sticky situation, but he needs to get some pylons up too. If he doesn't have any proxy pylons to warp in with, he's not going to be able to take advantage of gateways. And yep, there comes the first pylon. Third base is coming down for both players, but of course one Zealot working away at this one tirelessly. Not going to get a lot done. Second Zealot soon to join it. But the third base under assault by a much bigger force. Time Warp goes down on the ramp. It's going to kind of make it very awkward for HasuObs to engage here. No Blink. Actually, a nice Time Warp of his own. If you get one more off, you might be able to catch some units here. Of course, has to be a little bit careful. Can't put down those force fields. Colossus will... Yeah, there we go. Nicely done by ShoWTimE. HasuObs a little bit hesitant to put his own forces down, of course, because he knew Colossus would just crush them and take them out of play. These Zealots are they really going to get this Nexus? I mean, this is going to finish and be like in the red. This almost isn't even worth finishing. ShoWTimE might have, should have, would have canceled this. Lose the Nexus. What? Okay. I kind of smirked at that one zealot that was working away while that went down, but that's actually kind of a big snipe. HasuObs denying the third base of his opponent. All the probes have just been transferred, forced to come back home. Meanwhile, he's got his own third base up and running. Something that, quite frankly, should be insignificant at best was actually kind of a really nice move there for HasuObs. Everyone's asking for the... What? Please start casting like a documentary. The landscapes. Yo, you guys... Of course it's on a delay, so you're probably just now hearing my hint there about First Blood, but... The foliage in the deep-set thralls of Belshire grows wildly across the shores, saturated by the soil which is fertilized by the blood of many enemies constantly battling back and forth upon the soils of this fertile land. No farming can be obtained, of course, due to the wildlife preserved here. There might not be a lot of animals available, but that's because they're currently endangered. A small beach camp is set up along the far side of the map, down this ridge, but of course, it's so far away from civilization, there's just no way to currently engage it into further thought. But actually, hang on, we finally have battles starting to shape up here. We do have, we'll put the goofiness on hold for now. There's a 5 Colossus to 3 right now. ShoWTimE, of course, has one of the Colossus across the field, and there's not so much of a home field advantage this time. Time warps are going to be a lot stronger than Photon Overcharge could be. I mean, Time Warp is going to be huge for catching these out of position, even for just a moment. I mean, if that Archon had been Time Warped, it would have died. If the Colossus or Time Warp, an extra swipe or two goes off. Again, with the reinforcements down here to the third, HasuObs going to knock down this Nexus once again, if allowed to, but ShoWTimE is investing a lot more to defend this time. He's not saying, okay, it's too zealous, forget about it. I have to shut this down. I can't afford to lose my third again. I mean, HasuObs right now, the biggest thing he's doing is he's not killing units, but he's pulling ahead, and you might wonder, how is he pulling ahead? Well, that's this third base just going to overdrive. He's he's behind on upgrades, but it's so negligible at this point. What I'd really love to see is more Colossus. HasuObs definitely lacking in that regard, but his economy is quite nice. Both players on even army supply, but HasuObs going to have a lot easier time remaking units than ShoWTimE will. Again, third base has only just been established, and it's not so much about the minerals at this point as it is the gas. But kind of a cool move out of HasuObs. Going to go for the Dark Shrine while this is going on. Investing into the Plasma Shields as well. Really curious on this, instead of going for the armor. I guess hoping to bank more on a very, very Archon-heavy army going to the mid-game. Just little scraps going all over the map. But okay, ShoWTimE is only just finishing up his +3. HasuObs has got a bit of a window where he can attack and perhaps do a little more damage, but it's not going to be easy. The biggest thing, of course, is trying to catch these Colossus a little out of position. Again, even if it's just a Time Warp, that could be everything that changes the fate of this game. But ShoWTimE not going to get this pylon up. HasuObs saying, nope, I know what I've done to you. You're not going to do it to me. Unit counting station right now, lots of zealots here for HasuObs, but they're going to get absolutely eradicated by the combination of the Archons and the Colossus splash damage. And coming in here, that Time Warp was looking really good initially, but oh, HasuObs attacking the pylon as he stutter steps back. So Colossus is in fact not focusing on the units it needs to. But despite that awkward attack, still gets out of here relatively unscathed. Got a couple hallucinations in this army, not a whole lot, but the ShoWTimE is so many Colossus, 7 over 4. HasuObs is going to need to make some sort of desperate move, like getting Tempest out, getting something additional, because right now, a head-on fight, he simply can't take this Colossus count. If he had a Warp Prism, maybe that'd be a different story. Continue to harass around the various sides of the maps, lots of zealots here and there, but I mean, for the most part, HasuObs forced to fall back home. This is... It's really important here, too. We know ShoWTimE's ahead, and ShoWTimE probably has a good inkling of an idea that he's a little bit ahead, too, in army supply because of the fact that he's constantly been sending Hallucinated Phoenix into HasuObs again and again and again. But the problem with that is, even if you have more Colossus numbers, it doesn't mean you can just sort of A-move in and win. You have to take a decisive advantage from a particular angle. So, the reason we see this game kind of, I guess, posturing more than fighting is because either of these players could lose everything in an instant. All it takes is one wrong move. HasuObs has been a little bit more active with his harass for the majority of this game. He did get that Dark Shrine up, but hasn't utilized it yet. Would love to see some Dark Templar try and sneak their way in. I mean, there's cannons down, sure, but not up here, not where the pylons are, not where the gateways are being powered. And of course, we always have the threat of a base trade. Don't know if that's going to happen, but it might just. No, HasuObs is going to come back home. Ooh, that time warp pretty nasty. Almost cost the Archons their lives. Okay. I'm blue balling here for an engagement, guys. I'm like Archon style blue balling. It's getting so close, and they keep teasing each other, but then they keep pulling back. It's killing me. I'm ready to burst. I just want the fight to happen so badly, but it makes sense that they're playing it so smart and so carefully. Let's not forget too, this is a best of 3, and this is only game 1. So we may have a long series to go through here, but even if we do, this is an important one. It determines who gets out of the group on top, and it is the WCS style groups that you guys may be used to. I know WCS weren't the ones who invented them, but they seem to be the ones people are most familiar with. So yeah, group stages are a big deal. This is Group B, I believe we're currently casting. And I think Group C comes up on Sunday, but we're not going to be casting that. So good luck to whoever's playing on that day. Yeah, one thing I kind of talked about earlier, now we have the Warp Prism coming out. One thing I was hoping to get out of this Warp Prism is not really harass into the main. Not really Dark Templar being cheesed into anywhere else, but I would love to see him take on an engagement, come in from behind, warp a ton of Zealots on top of the Colossus, and just shred them all to death. Beth, maybe? I don't know. Does anyone know someone named Beth? With their lights on in the parking lot? But HasuObs, how are you going to use this Warp Prism, and where is it at, my friend? Gonna try and be harassive with it. Okay, so he's going to use Dark Templar to try and get into the main. Not a bad choice. Not exactly, in my opinion, the best choice at this particular junction, but if ShoWTimE's forced to either come back home, that exposes his 4th, or he ignores it entirely and HasuObs takes out his production, but ooh, big time warps going down for both players. That, of course, is ShoWTimE's, and that's HasuObs' time warp. Kind of hard to tell if you guys aren't paying attention to what's going on, but no, hiccups. Go away! I can't. Not while I'm casting, please. Take a deep breath, scare myself, whatever you need to do, right? Drink water. Yeah, this is, I was kind of joking about that no rush scenario, but that's what it kind of feels like. Depowers 2 gateways, actually, that's kind of huge. Bit of an Artosis pylon here as well, well, at least for these couple of gateways. If he can take out both these pylons, that could be huge, but meanwhile, I got engagements trying to be forced down here in the western half of the map. I don't know if this is a really good idea. HasuObs is incredibly exposing himself here. Those Colossus could have, should have, would have died if ShoWTimE had just pushed on it. And if that had been the case, ShoWTimE could have probably pushed to win the game. But now he's forced to deal with this harass. Constant massive Zealot Warpins here. Gonna take down another Stark. Gonna take down the Dark Shrine even. Ooh, no chance of a counter DT, which is actually really good. Big recall goes off. Suddenly, ShoWTimE is forced to evacuate. Now, if HasuObs was still posturing around the west side of the map, he would have knocked down this base. And that's unfortunate because I think that's kind of what he really needed to bank on, was ShoWTimE recalling so he could continue to push. But okay, level 3 upgrades, level 3 plasma shields. To the level 3 upgrades, some armor and a plasma shield. Kill doesn't know gateway, by the way, because Archons are fat pieces of crap and they can't go through SimCity. Just FYI. 9 Colossus to 8, 5 Archons to 5, 7 Immortals, though I think is going to play a big role in the upcoming fight here for ShoWTimE, as that's one certain point of advantage he has. Immortals, of course, will just punch a hole through the Archons like they're nothing, or not the Archons, but the Colossus like they're nothing. But lots of cannons here, going to buy HasuObs a little bit of time while he tries to knock down this base. Probes are going to be evacuated, but are we going to have a good old-fashioned base trade, I wonder? We have no recalls available on the Mothership Core for ShoWTimE yet, but there is one available for HasuObs. The problem is you can't recall to the base that's under attack. Your units do not attack for like the 3 or 4 seconds in which they recall. So if you do that, you could lose everything in an instant, but looks like we're going to have a good old-fashioned base trade! Base trade hype! Alright, here we go, guys. Third base going to get knocked down really quickly. As far as the race goes, HasuObs is certainly winning. He's a whole one up on his opponent. ShoWTimE, of course, can still recall if he needs to, but I don't know if that's a fight he necessarily wants to take, so I'm going to keep pushing the issue over here. I wish I could split screens for you guys, like half and half, but it's just not going to happen. Archon's going to continue pushing through, doesn't give a flip. HasuObs just stutter stepping, but ShoWTimE A-moving more so than stutter stepping. So again, a little bit slower initially, but starting to pick up the pace. All of those Immortals picking up so much extra damage. They hit for what, 65? 65 a shot in all these armored buildings. So HasuObs might have a really scary force, but he certainly cannot win this race, and he's got to recognize this soon if he wants to recall and come back home. But gonna try and get in here. I'd love if he left, like, say, 3 Zealots, right? 5 Zealots. Just do some damage, recall back home, try and hold defensively, but time has run out. He can no longer recall. If he recalls, he loses everything in the time it takes to recall. So as far as the game's concerned, it's 178 supply to 132. There'll be nothing else made here for HasuObs or ShoWTimE for the rest of this game. And that being said, that doesn't put HasuObs in a good spot at all. However, despite the massive supply difference, Colossus with their splash damage can change everything. I mean, again, all it takes is one terrible engagement. HasuObs, ShoWTimE, both trying to expand out of this, put bases down elsewhere. HasuObs with so many resources can build like 19, well, okay, let's do math riff again. More like 6 Nexus if he wants to. Although 19 Nexus off of 2400, that'd be incredibly cost effective. Ooh, actually, I take that back. Can't do it. I guess he did a one last-ditch effort warp in while I was talking, so brings his army supply up ever so slightly, but not enough to get much done. HasuObs, without enough resources to build another Nexus, actually in some pretty dire straits. There is nothing but one Templar awkwardly over here. Where is... Oh, God, are there any probes? There's 0 probes available, so he can't build anything else. What he has on the field is what he has to deal with. Can push up here and try and take down a third of his opponent. Of course, the Similar is given vision. He knows it's there. HasuObs is going to be revealed here in 3 seconds. Everything's been torn down. So we'll just stick on the unit supply. There's not going to be any production from here on out. So let's check the resources lost. Pretty damn even for the way this has gone. However, army supply vastly in the favor of ShoWTimE. A lot of this comes due to those Immortals, but tentative is as tentative does. ShoWTimE actually, does he have any other buildings? He's got resources to build another Nexus actually. So HasuObs can't turtle up the way he wants to, sadly. This sucks. That's all I can say, guys. Not for viewers or anything, but for both of these players. ShoWTimE's in a pretty good spot. In fact, he's in an amazing spot. If this Nexus completes, HasuObs pretty much straight up loses the game. Not because of anything else, but because ShoWTimE can just bide his time and rebuild his army to max. Granted, that's going to take like another half an hour to do, but it's still possible within the likelihood of having this happening. Probable, not so much, but likely. Or, no, likely not so much, but probable. There we go. If I can reverse it. But, ooh, some Zealot's going to chip away at this. HasuObs has got a pylon here. He can cancel the Nexus if he needs to. But he's down to almost no structures. In fact, or not HasuObs, sorry, ShoWTimE. I keep mixing the names up here. But ShoWTimE's got 1 pylon. That's it. HasuObs may actually win the game right here. Oh my god, HasuObs may win the game, guys. Picks up, walks out, but this is the last building. ShoWTimE perhaps realizing a little too late, sends a probe off to go build something else elsewhere. Wasn't sure if he wanted to cancel the Nexus or not, but he can't cancel it. If he does, he loses the game. So now forced to mine and do what he can. HasuObs only has to knock down this Nexus. If he YOLOs into it before another building's down, he wins. But of course, ShoWTimE hasn't built anything else. He's not paying attention. Oh god, if only HasuObs knew. If only he knew, guys. There's no other buildings available. This is one low health Nexus could end everything, but it's not gonna happen because he doesn't know. If he knew better, this wouldn't be the case. No pylons, no simulators. Now has enough resources to build a second Nexus if he needs to. But of course, everything lies on this one single Nexus. Where'd that Warp Prism go? Is that Warp Prism still alive for HasuObs? It is. Okay, so the problem is ShoWTimE was never revealed. The Nexus was never down for long enough for him to have his buildings revealed, so HasuObs actually has no confirmation of whether this is the last building or not. So, again, this makes sense why he's not just kind of YOLOing into it, but man, another pylon coming down here. He's lost that opportunity. Trying to trade out here as best he can with the Colossus, going for snipes, poking here and there. But, oh man, army supply still definitely in the favor of ShoWTimE. A beautiful time warp, though, keeps this Colossus back. Now able to take a bit of an engagement, forced to fight his final fight. This is it, guys. HasuObs falling supply really quickly, but he takes out the Archons initially. There's nothing left to buffer for his army, though. Just Colossus to kite, and that's not going to work. Not against these Immortals. They punch a hole through that first Colossus. It goes down like it's nothing. Second Colossus going to fall here in just a second. He's running out of room to kite, but takes out the Archons. Now it's Colossus versus Colossus. Where's that Warp Prism? If there was Warp Prism over here for the Micro, HasuObs may have actually taken this. This was so close! Where's the... Bring your Warp Prism! Oh, it's gonna win anyways! The Colossus Scout actually has no anti-air. They have to run for the Mothership Core. The Mothership Core can end the game, but this scumbag Warp Prism, if this had been over here, he would have straight up ended everything. However, now stuck in a bit of an awkward situation, ShoWTimE went from having an army supply lead to being in a bit of trouble. Both players are, of course, 3-3 as far as shields and armor are concerned, but ShoWTimE with the superior upgrades, with the superior army supply, did not take a favorable engage. I don't know how, but HasuObs was able to kite that down. Now he's able to micro the Colossus if he needs to. He could... Oh god, he could just move in here. Oh god, the last two Colossus of ShoWTimE are moving out. He knows he can't take a fight. He's going to try and kill buildings, but that's simply not going to cut it. Moving in to end the game. Oh god, so many gateways are being made right now. ShoWTimE, with 900 resources, can certainly warp in a ton of zealots if necessary, but... What is happening? He's going to play cat and mouse, runs away again. This big ring of gateways coming down. Finally, he will be revealed if he can't get another Nexus down soon, but he can build 2 of them. He's got the resources for them. And now, actually, with those Colossus slowly taking down the buildings of HasuObs, so where's the comeback home? I don't... Oh, God. Alright, here to the north. ShoWTimE being chased by this Warp Prism. Oh my god, he's gonna swipe and then unload. He's gonna just keep microing this down until the Colossus die. I'm sorry, I'm just losing it right now, guys. This was worth every minute of like the 30-minute no rush scenario for it to come down to this, because this is so desperate for both players. ShoWTimE gonna warp in a lot more zealots, but will zealots be enough to keep him in the game is the big question. Oh no, he's actually supply blocked. He can't, he needs more pylons. ShoWTimE, you need to build more pylons. There we go, now completing up. It's only going to be able to warp in 4 zealots, though that's not going to be enough. Zealots continue to poke away at this. I'm going to command HasuObs on this micro. What the hell? He's actually dropping melee units on top of the stock, or on top of the Colossus here. Going to charge forward, take out these last 2 Colossus. As the probes go down, so will the last open ShoWTimE. This has been the most insane game 1 ever. Finally, we've got some zealots warping in, but oh god, with that control, it knocks down one of the Colossus. There's 1 zealot left. He can certainly do this. Here comes those last 4 Colossi, though, and with this, good game will be called. Oh my god. Game number 2 will be coming up shortly, guys. Oh man, game number 2 on the way. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna try and squeeze in whatever commercials I can. Wake, if you're in the channel, please buy HasuObs a beer like on me. Please, Wake, if you're still here from Mouse Sports. Okay guys, see you in a sec.